Shalom Aleichem, my dear brothers and sisters. I just had a good discussion with somebody, and I figured that this would be probably a good discussion to share with others. And the question was, can children be punished for their parents, for the sins of their parents? And in reality, there is a verse, which I'm gonna bring sources below in the description. So there is a verse which indicates that children will not be punished for the sins of their parents. But then there's another verse which indicates that children will be punished up to the third and fourth generation for the sins of their parents. So what's the resolution? So the resolution is brought in the Talmud, and the resolution is as follows: that if the child repeats the sins of the parents, then the child gets punished not only for his own sins, but he gets actually punished for the sins of his mother and even his grandmother if she did the same sin. So the way to stop this is basically the child has to stop the sin of the parents. And if the child stops the sin of the parents, then he or she will not get punished for the crime of the parents. Now, the person that I discussed this with made a following statement. He says, what about we see the children of Adam, right? Adam and Chava. They did the misdeed with the tree, right? With the eating of the fruit. And now their children not necessarily did the same misdeed, but yet we see that they were not entered, they were not allowed to back into the Garden of Eden, right? And another verse that was brought down in Deuteronomy, I think chapter 23, verse 3, where it says that the bastards, meaning somebody who's born out of illegitimate relationship, will not enter the congregation of God. So let me explain. So here was my response, and this is what I wanted to share with you guys as well, is as following. So in order to understand this, we first have to do the following thing. We have to differentiate between punishment and consequences. So if a person, let's say, let me give an example. Example is as follows. Let's say a woman who's pregnant and she does drugs. She's on drugs, right? The child is born. The child is born crippled, let's say, as a handicap. Now, the child being handicapped, it's not a punishment for the sin that the mother did. It's simply a consequence. The child may not be at fault at all. So a child may be, the child may be a handicap, but as long as he lives his life as a righteous person within his, and in the world to come, he's not going to get punished for what his mother did, even though there was a consequence to what the mother did. So when Adam and Chava did their misdeed, it brought consequences to their children and actually to the whole world until today. Eventually this consequence will be corrected, and we believe this will all change. But as of right now, there is still this consequences. So it's not like the children are being punished for the sin of the parents. It's just different. They live within different consequences, and they could be righteous and get their reward and be absolutely not punished for the sins of their parents. And now, in regards to the verse in Deuteronomy where it says that bastards may not enter the congregation of God, what exactly does that mean literally? So what that literally means is that if somebody is born out of illegitimate relationship, let's say a woman cheated on her husband with a boyfriend, right, and had a child from that boyfriend. So according to Judaism, that child is called mamzer, meaning to say bastard, I think is the proper English term. So what that means is that what that verse means is not that the child is going to be punished. What that means is that he simply is not allowed to marry a regular Jew. So according to Jewish law, these children, from illegitimate relationships, they can marry each other. For example, they can have children, they can marry each other, and they get the world to come just like any other Jew. So there's no punishment for them. However, the consequence is that they are not allowed to marry within a regular Jew. And not only them, by the way, the Torah talks about certain nations. There was the nation of Moabites and Ammonites. The Torah says that the men, at least from among these two nationalities, are not allowed to join the congregation of God, meaning that even if they convert to Judaism, Jews are not allowed to marry them. It doesn't matter how many generations back. Now, any other nation, let's say somebody who's, let's say just non-Jewish, let's say an Arab today, right, or a French guy, I don't know, doesn't matter. If he converts to Judaism, as soon as he converts, he's allowed to marry other Jews, he or she. So there's no problem. But there were these two specific nations because of the deed that their ancestors did. There was certain thing. Then there came this consequence that even if they convert to Judaism, they cannot get married to other Jews. Now, again, this is not a punishment. If they convert to Judaism, or even if they don't convert to Judaism, if they follow the 7 Noahide laws, I mean people from these nations, right, Moabites and Ammonites, if they follow the 7 Noahide laws, and they live a righteous life, and they get the world to come, just like any other, people in there among the Gentiles. So therefore, there's no punishment for that. All it is consequences. I hope this explains it. Thank you for watching.